Hello everyone, welcome to Under the Covers. This video is my best of 2013 or my top 5 of 2013. This is my second time recording this because the first time the files got corrupted and I didn't get to post it last week. So I have to redo the video. So here we go. Before I get into the top 5, I'm going to do a couple runners up, a couple books that I read this year that were really good, but I didn't think, were in my top 5. The first one is Roadside Picnic by Arkady and Boris Strugatsky. I'm very bad with pronunciating. I'm very bad with pronouncing names, so I think it's Strugatsky or Arkady or Arkady. I don't know. Anyways, this is a science fiction novel about an alien invasion, and they don't really invade. They just kind of come and check it out, and then they leave. And they leave behind a bunch of, just weird things like artifacts and almost little parasite type things. And they isolate the area where the aliens come to, and that becomes this place called the Zone. And this character named Red Shewart, he goes into the Zone and collects these artifacts and brings them back and sells them. And the artifacts and the parasites and what have you have certain effects on humanity. And it's really dark, but it's really good, and I recommend reading it. I had to read it for a class. That's how I heard about it. The next runner-up is a book that Ashley and I reviewed this year. It is The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. And this is about a boy named Nobody who his parents are murdered when he's a baby, and he flees to a graveyard as a baby, and he's raised by the people of the graveyard, like ghosts and vampires and werewolves, and a lot of supernatural. There's a lot of supernatural elements involved in this story, and it's pretty good. I really enjoyed it. A lot of people told me I would enjoy it. The day I bought this book, the guy working at, I believe, Barnes & Noble told me it was really good. So it's always good when you buy a book and the person working there says it's a good book. And if you want to check out the review, it's back in my videos. Alright, let's get to the top 5. Number 5, I'm going to work my way down to number 1. Number 5 is The Walking Dead series by Robert Kirkman and Tony Moore. This is the first, I guess, volume. Would this be a volume, or... It's not an episode or a comic, it's got a bunch of the comics in one. I think they're called volumes. I don't know. I'm not very familiar with the graphic novel jargon, but this is the first volume. This isn't mine. It's my brother-in-law Vinny's. I didn't buy any of these books because I can read them in an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then I'll read them again. So it's kind of just going back through it to get what I missed. So I never wanted to buy them because I can read them really quick. So what I would do is I'd rent them from the library, or I'd go to Barnes & Noble and read them, just sit there and read them and then start the next one. And they're very good. They follow most of you know from the TV show, it follows Rick Grimes and his need to protect his son and his family, and then to protect the people around him, and he kind of becomes the leader of this story. The only thing I don't like about The Walking Dead is there's a lot of repetition. They go from place to place, and then the same things seem to happen, and then people die, and then people come to replace them. And that's kind of my only knock on the story. But other than being a big zombie fan, I found it a very interesting graphic novel. Number 4 on the list is A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. And I don't really need to explain this to everyone. Everyone pretty much knows what A Game of Thrones is. I've only read this book in the series so far. And as a fantasy reader, I like a little bit more of sword and sorcery in my stories. And this novel does have that, but not as much as I would like. It's very politically driven and character driven, which I like. But I don't really don't really bother with politics that much. I'm familiar with what's going on in the world and in the world of this novel, but politics just aren't my thing. So I didn't hold it in as high of a regard as 90% of the reading population. I really want to read the second book. I want to finish the series, but I'm not like I need to read the next book, like a lot of people are. So that's why it's number 4 on my list and not higher on my list. Number 3 on my list is another book Ashley and I reviewed. By the way, I also reviewed Game of Thrones. If you want to see what I thought about it, go back and check out the full review. Anyways, number 3 on the list is a book Ashley and I reviewed, The Boy Detective Fails by Joe Meno, and I'm a big Joe Meno fan. I love Hairstyles of the Damned. It was my favorite book I read last year. I really love Tender as Hellfire. I've read some of his other stories, short stories. So I'm a big fan of his, and The Boy Detective Fails didn't fail me as a reader, because I really enjoyed the story. It's about a man named Billy. His name is Billy Argo, and he was a child detective, and he grows up and he kind of loses his mind a little bit and has to spend time in an institution, and then he gets let out of the institution, and you still kind of wonder if he's, all there, because he sees a lot of things that, aren't really happening. And Meno plays with, the style and the context of the novel, and he also, kind of parodies, Encyclopedia Brown and the Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew and all that, which I thought was really fun. So, number 3 is The Boy Detective Fails by Joe Meno. Number 2 is another book I reviewed this year. It is Peter and the Starcatchers by Dave Barry and Ridley Pearson, and this is the first book in the, the Peter and the Starcatchers series, and I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed this novel. It's a kid's novel, and it's kind of a prequel to Peter Pan. How does Peter end up in Neverland, and how do the pirates end up there, and how does Captain Hook become Captain Hook? And it's a really fun read, and it's a really good backstory into the Peter Pan series. It's not canon. Barry didn't sign off on this, but it's kind of an imagining of how everyone got there. And I'm a big Peter Pan fan, so of course I was going to enjoy this. And my number 1 book of 2013 is another book that Ashley and I reviewed this year. It is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline, and I really enjoyed this book. When I first started reading it, I picked it up, and I read the first 150 pages before I set it down for the night, and I wanted to keep reading it. And that's what I love as a reader. You want to pick up a book, and you want to be completely sucked into the story and be invested in the characters. And that's what happened when I read this. It's about a boy named, I think his name is Wade. Yeah, his name is Wade, and or Percival is his his screen name, who lives in a fantasy world. It's very similar to World of Warcraft, or almost like Facebook, where everything is online on the internet in this big world, and you can interact with everyone and everything. And it's the creator of this world dies and puts forth a challenge to everyone in the world to take on this treasure hunt, and whoever finds all the treasures wins his fortune and the rights to the Oasis, which is what the world is called. And I'm not going to spoil anything, so I'm not going to get too much into the story, but this book is combining fantasy, Dungeons and Dragons, sword and sorcery and all of that, with science fiction and science, and I really enjoyed that, and I really enjoyed the combination of the two. It's kind of it's like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory meets Dungeons and Dragons. It's really cool because of the treasure hunt and all of that, and all the clues that you have to, figure out. And I really enjoyed this, and I can't really say anything bad about it. It's the one book this year I gave a 5 out of 5 review to, so definitely has to be #1 on my list. So that's all I have for you. Hopefully I can have this video up soon and the file doesn't get corrupted or something like that. I don't know how it happens. But that's all I have, so thanks for tuning in. Later.